Now to the computer mistake that nearly led to 40 years in prison for a teacher in Connecticut. Julie Amaro has spent the last 4 years fighting serious pornography charges after her classroom computer started spewing out lewd images one day. This morning, the ordeal is finally over, but only after it nearly completely unraveled her life. In 2004, Julie Amaro's life was near perfect. She and her husband Wes were expecting a baby. She was substitute teaching, and on October 19th, she thought she'd start her school day by checking her personal email. But before she got to do that, she noticed something disturbing. The classroom computer began popping up a flurry of pornographic images.
The time during the day, there was no big deal made of it. What happened was kids went home, told their parents, kids talked, and it exploded from there.
The school notified the police, and a 37-year-old pregnant teacher was arrested, charged with risk of injury to a minor. She says she lost her baby while awaiting trial and faced 40 years in prison. During the trial, she testified that she'd been overwhelmed. The pop-ups never went away. It was one after another. They were continuous. Every time I clicked the box in the corner, the red box, the red X, more were generated. But the prosecution convinced the jury that Julie had been surfing pornography websites in a classroom filled with 7th graders. She was convicted. Now Julie's case was taken up by an online community of computer security experts. Working with a copy of the computer's hard drive, they soon found the real culprit to be spyware. In this case, a malicious program which took over the computer and generated the pornographic pop-ups.
This web page that she had allegedly clicked on, which was presented at the trial as, evidence. It was clear evidence by the prosecution that she had clicked on this link, and there was absolutely everything indicated to the exact contrary that she had not clicked on that link.
The judge threw out the conviction. The state dropped the felony charges, but Julie agreed to plead guilty to disorderly conduct and to never work in a classroom again. 4.5 years of her life gone.
It's a fascinating glimpse into what can happen to you, if you are arrested in a wrongful situation.
And earlier this morning, I spoke to Julie Amaro and her husband Wes, who both said a big part of the problem is that Julie just isn't very computer savvy.
He had just taught me recently how to do the computer. And I went into the classroom that morning, and Matt Knapp, the teacher, showed me what I needed to do for the day, and I was okay with that. And I said, I'm going to excuse myself before class starts and go to the ladies' room. I came back, there was 2 children at the computer on his desk. So I positioned myself between both of the kids, and I was like, you don't belong here, head back to class. So I got my day started, and about 15-20 minutes, all the kids are looking at me and snickering. And I'm like looking around, I'm like, what's going on here today? And all of a sudden, there were like little tiny square boxes on the computer screen. Women in lingerie, bathing suits, what now I've learned is anime, little cartoon characters with bikinis on.
So it's just popping up on the screen?
On the screen.
You did nothing, it was popping up?
Didn't touch anything.
And so you were trying to click it off?
Right, so I went up to the little red box. That's the only thing he told me to get out of. You go up to the little red box, click, and you run away from the computer.
Why didn't you turn off the computer?
I didn't even know where the button was.
You didn't know how to turn off the computer?
Never been shown, never been told.
Did you go and get help? Did you have a teacher's aide to go and get the principal?
I turned the computer this way towards the blackboard so they could not see anything. And there was a few children that did see something. And what they said they saw were small pictures.
So when did you know there was a problem?
I knew there was a problem the 3rd day. At the end of that school day, I found Kate O'Boyle, which was the vice principal at the time. I said, did you hear what happened today? Don't worry about it, see you tomorrow. I left, worked for the next 3 days, got a call from the principal. He pulls a list of paper out, a couple sheets of paper, and he said, Julie, what is this? It's got all these 1s and 0s and HTTP and whatever on it. And I was like, I don't know, what is it? And he said, this is what you did in class. I was like, well, what is it exactly? And he said, Julie, this is pornographic material.
I know the parents were very upset. Charges are filed. You are convicted. These experts come to rescue, prove that it's not you. It was overturned.
Yes, it was.
It was overturned. You, though, had a plea agreement, and
Yes.
there was a misdemeanor charge of disorderly conduct. What does that stem from?
They got a pound of flesh.
They were unwilling to admit that they had made a mistake, even though all the proof in the records of the firewall showed that there was no way that any human being could click on that many sites that were shown in the firewall log. It was just impossible to happen. So, in my opinion, it was just a saving face for the state of Connecticut to come back and say, okay, we were right, you were wrong, we're still willing to prosecute you. And of course our attorneys were saying, well, we're still willing to go to trial as well.
Absolutely.
So,
But it was her health in the long run that
I ended up
kept
in the
us.
hospital twice. My heart stopped. And I had a couple issues with breathing, and the doctors all agreed that I would never make it through another trial.
I know it's been quite an ordeal. What is it that you take away from this, and what you want to share most with other people?
I would tell any teacher today that's teaching in the United States or any country, one, if you're a substitute, you better have somebody teach you and train you properly what to do in an emergency, and to make sure you know how to use a computer. Everybody out there should be afraid. It's not just teachers, it's bankers, it's people that sit home on their own computers and work from home. It's anywhere and it's everywhere. And if it can happen to me, it can most certainly happen to you.
Julie, thank you for coming forward and sharing this
Thank
story
you.
with us, Wes, as well.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Wish you all
having
the
us.
best.